The information and services contained in this program are intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended as investment advice. Producers of this content are not responsible for the accuracy or validity of any information contained herein. Please consult your financial advisor prior to any investment decisions.
All right. So I guess many people know me now from DeFi, but before I was in DeFi, I was an original member of Bankless DAO. I'm the founding member of the legal guild there. Speaking about teams depends what you do, right? So that's a bunch of lawyers. They do zero lawyering, but they produce a magazine called Decentralized Law, right? Which is the most widely distributed legal publication in DAOs or in Web3. And so it kind of depends what you're doing. Beyond just there, I'm also, before I got too busy, I used to be involved at the beginning of DAOPlanet. And I've been active in a number of DAOs, just as a contributor, a volunteer, or a paid member. Bankless is a good example. And I'm just going to walk through some examples of things that can go wrong before I invite the final panelists up, and we'll just talk about humans and why they're so valuable. So in that DAO, there's about 14 different guilds, if you will, little sub-DAOs, and they all have like one function or another. And what you end up having is, and there is no universal way of doing anything. So one guild might do it one way, another guild might do it another way, and so on. DAOs are theoretical, humans are real life. So in real life, things happen. So you could have been in charge of artwork for the new app or wallet you're developing and you're going to roll out, and then you got COVID and you were missing for 3 weeks. This is back during the pandemic. And you come back and they decided to go with somebody else's artwork, even though you already put like 40 hours into it and you thought it was all yours. Somebody made a decision without you. You weren't included. You didn't know about it. The people who made that decision are not used to working in an environment and never thought to say, you know what, I think I should call that person at home and tell them. And all of a sudden you have a problem. So I became the ombudsman at Bankless, founded the ombudsman. And so, you know, in a DAO that has 15,000 people, I've seen just about every single conflict you can possibly imagine. It's really important, and they all boil down to the exact same formula every time. And that is simply that if you do not have a process to follow, when you have a distributed network, when there's 5 of us in a room and we work together, we don't need process. We can just look at each other, we have body language, we understand what we mean, we nod our head and we say yes. It's not a problem. But when you're working with a bunch of people, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 400, or 500 in a distributed way around the world with different languages, different time zones, asynchronously, if you do not have a process about, it's like having an agenda that first you do this, then you do that, and that you don't have consent, not consensus. It's important to know the difference between consent means it's something I can live with, right? About how you make decisions in a small group. 100% guaranteed you're going to have conflict. 100% guarantee it. And it is that lack of process that leads to finger pointing and blaming, right? So it becomes, I could barely, is that Jeff? Jess. It becomes Jesse's fault because Jesse did something to me, when in fact it's, no. What happened is there was no process to prevent that from happening in the first place. So to have a healthy team, a healthy DAO, you need process. And firstly and foremost, and the second thing is you really need to think ahead about conflict resolutions, right? To set aside, suspend judgment, and how you're going to do that as a designated person, because not everybody wants their complaint aired in the fresh air, right? So like, how do you handle complaints? How do you handle frictions? I can tell you that I've had the most angry people on the planet who are super upset, and when I was ombudsman, I used to ask them, would you work with so-and-so again? And what would it take? And 99, in the entire time, there was only one person who said no. Everybody else, ironically, said, yeah, I would, despite the fact they could have, for 10 minutes, ranted and raved, pointed a finger, said unflattering things about someone. Often it's just about knowing that there's a process, knowing that you can take it somewhere and you can resolve the conflict. The best way to do it, though, is to design it out from the start. Just have a good process.